2 weeks back then. I'm thinking that now that we've got 10 times the power we had before, we'll start to see a more regular result. It's been 3 days since we hit our last Litecoin reward, and so our electric bill here running the 5 L7s and the C6 was about $2,000 a month, right? Not a big deal. Our electric bill's melted to 10x, but we were able to switch over to CoServe to half price power rate because our consumption now reached the point where we get an automatic discount, right? So instead of our electric bill going from 2,000 to 20,000, it's going from 2010, right? Which is good. However, keep a close eye on how many Litecoin we're picking up and see how close we actually get covering the entire electric bill. I think we're going to be right there. We might even make some money. So we have to just watch it. It's all based on the Litecoin network. We're also trying to finish up getting Doge mined at the same time. So as we mine Litecoin and Doge, the profit goes way up. And we'll see how much we actually pull in over the next 30 days. So far we've hit one block in 3 days. A block is worth about 500 bucks, right? So if we can hit a block every 2-3 days, then what's that, 10 blocks a month? 4,000, 5,000, we got halfway there. So we'll keep a close eye on it and cross our fingers.
Explain to them in layman's terms what you mean when you put a block.
Yeah, so against each other to find the answer to the magical math problem that nobody's able to explain. Okay, so that's what they're doing. They're crunching all this number. They're burning electricity. If I pulled one of those things out of the tub, it'd be screaming at you. It'd overheat. It'd be hundreds of degrees in seconds as it works its butt off to figure out how to find the answer to the math problem. We talk about mega hash. 1 hash means like 2 plus 2 is 4, okay? A million hash, 2 plus 2 is 4, right? Okay, well that's obviously not the equation. But what happens is the more you drop into the tank, the more difficult the math equation gets. You can actually see that on our website as well. I think it's on the Block Explorer that you'll see the number that we call the network difficulty. So you'll see not just our hash power, but you'll also see the network difficulty increasing. Oh, you added more ASICs to the mix, well, great job, but now the math equation is more difficult. And so you can track the difficulty as it rises and falls based on how many of these things we drop into the oil. Okay? So the challenges are getting ever more difficult, which is great. Somebody figured out
44.5 cents.
how much Texit coin does the miner that answers the question first receive? At 1,600 tons, thermal,
Put your fingers in it.
Oh, you can?
Yeah. And it's oil.
Well water.
from
Put your hand in
machines
it.
that are making away in there, take it outside in the pipes and put it
Oil water. Go put your finger in water.
So,
It's warm.
I want to show you guys the progression. Wait here, I'll be right back.
There's no water.
Not
There's no water in there.
It's mineral oil, something like a mineral oil. Holding up. I had this garage, 3 racks of them over there against that wall, and unfortunately we were at 120 degrees in this garage, and the noise was so bad, the heat was so bad, we had the garage door open all the time, and you could hear it from down the street, just howling in here. And the other problem was as they overheat, they fail. And so every person was originally linked to a miner. And so I get a phone call from someone the next day saying, well, my mine cut out around 2 a.m. and I didn't get my coins for the day. And I said, all right, well, this strategy's not going to work. When I figured out that that was going to be a problem that there was really no way to overcome, we switched over to a better technology and started buying the top-of-the-line equipment, which was, at the time, the Bitmain L7s. So these are Bitmain Antminer L3s. So we switched over to the L7s. I got my hands on a couple of them. I had to drive through the middle of the night to somewhere in Arkansas to find one so that I could get it plugged in and get the mine going reliably. And that was right before my neighbor Matt and I jumped on a plane and headed out to Las Vegas to attend the World Digital Mining Summit, the biggest conference of its type put on by Bitmain, the company that manufactures the equipment, where we went to learn about immersion cooling. And immersion cooling, man, that just blew my mind. Number one, it's visually just incredible, but the idea that we'd be able to get rid of the heat and cut down the noise and cut down the energy consumption by 30% because we get to remove the fans. We don't have fans on those things anymore. We take them all off before we plug them in. That just was the best idea I'd ever heard of. So we went out there less than a year ago, learned about it, met some of the top companies in the space, connected with this company called Fog Hashing. They supplied us with their C6 model that holds 6 ASICs. And so we plugged that in over there in the corner, and the heat exchanger that gets rid of the heat that comes off those mines is right outside. That's what we've been running off of since last July. And it's gotten us pretty far. Then we started buying more equipment. We realized the C6 isn't enough to hold all the equipment. But fortunately, we're buying futures because the industry's going wild and we can't get the equipment right now anyway. And so we said, no problem, we can wait a little while, and this will keep us going far enough to get us to the next spot where we can upgrade the infrastructure. And so what you're seeing here today is what I was able to get plugged in last week with the help of Gary and his son-in-law Casey, who are now helping us with our tech and mining endeavors. This is the B24 model. And not only does it hold 4 times as many units as we've got over there in the C6, but we are now running Bitmain L9s, which is the top of the line model in the industry. It's the same equipment that the professional mega mines are running right now to mine like Quinn and Doge. So we're running the top of the line equipment and the top of the line technology with immersion cooling. If you hear on the news stories about, can't remember the city in Texas, it's Granbury, Texas, where they've got the city council convening to talk about the noise and the vibration that's being created by this riot mega mine that's there. And it's a real nuisance for the town. You eliminate that entirely with immersion cooling. I mean, that's as loud as it gets. And so it's virtually silent, it cuts down on the power consumption, and it is not a nuisance to the neighbors like the L3s were back in the early days. I think that's a big step forward, and it's something that you guys want to hold on to as you're sharing our story. Well, isn't mining like a nuisance? Doesn't it use all this energy? Well, our mining isn't a nuisance, and it uses 30% less power than all the other mines do. Plus, we don't have to grow to infinity so that we can compete with China. We're not competing with China.
Right.
So these are big things that you put in your tool belt and you can pull out as you get into conversations with people about mining. But this was a great technology. And I was very excited to establish a relationship with Fog Hashing, place an order. We waited a while. We finally got the equipment. We said, all right, we've got one mine here in McKinney. We're setting up mine number 2 down in Victoria and mine number 3 in Gonzales. Well, I hired a guy to go down there and get it all set up, and it didn't work out. And so I took it down there and found a piece of land and signed a lease and bought a property and signed a contract. Didn't work out. So, we try to do these things. We hit these roadblocks, but unfortunately, we can only have excuses for so long before people go, where's the hash power? I want to see the hash power. So, all right, let's shift the strategy around a little bit as we talked about recently, where now, instead of rushing to build 35 sites around the state, which is very difficult to get to logistically and deploy, we're going to build 3 mini sites here around DFW. And so this is site number 1. Not only do we still have those 5 L7s running over there, but now we've got 24 L9s plugged in here. And instantaneously, you can see the hash power jump on the website. Remember, we've got a couple of very important charts laid out on that dashboard, and that's our ability to communicate our project's progress to the world. But it's only so long before the world says, hey, you said you're building a mine, we're not seeing the jump, what gives? People say, well, we got tariff problems and we got equipment problems. Vendors are tripling the price. When are we going to see the proof in the pudding? And so I said, okay, I got it. Got to do my job. This is promise number one. We're building the mine. I got to follow through. So regardless of what the hurdles are, we got to find a way to overcome them. Prices started dropping back down. They're still 50% more expensive than they were before, but I was able to cancel some of the futures contracts that we had. We still have one that's out there and replace it now with more competitively priced L9s. So we're still using the best technology. We're still using immersion cooling, but we were able to get the first real upgrade in place this past week, which I was really happy to get accomplished before I had all you guys come out and take a look at it. Now, there's a couple of things I want to talk about that are very important. First of all, again, if you check the chart on the website, you can see exactly where we are in terms of sold hash power. It's updated real time. Every time somebody jumps in, the number increases. At the end of this week, and this week is now closed, we're at 1,071,000 megahash. All right, if you chop off the last 3 zeros, you can call it gigahash. So we're at 1071 gigahash, or that's 1,071,000 megahash. Okay, so again, there's a disparity between our sold hash power and our current actual hash power. All right, so what I want you guys to do is I want you to do the math with me. Okay, we've got 5 L7s over there in that tub. Those L7s run at 9,500 megahash. 9,500 times 5 is 47,500. Okay? Everyone with me? You're going to remember that number? We've got 24 L9s in that tub. L9s run at 16,500. Now, a couple things have happened in the last few days that I think are very important to share with you, and I want you to see them. Number one, we just received 2 days ago the next B24. All right, so the next B24 just showed up. It's sitting out there in the crate. We are in the process right now of finishing up site selection for number 2. Maybe it's going in one of your buildings. But we need to find, and everyone can keep an eye out for this as well, we need 400 amps at 480 volts. We need about a room this size or smaller, and we need an outdoor area where we can put the heat exchanger. So there's an outside part and there's an inside part. So we don't need a lot, but we do need 400 amps at 480 volts to run the system. Okay? As soon as we find the next one, we've got that equipment there, and we are ready to deploy. Now, that's the immersion cooling equipment, and if you look at the IBC totes on the side of the building, we've got the cooling material that fills up the tank. Each one of the tanks holds 800 liters of coolant as well. Coolant's $11 per liter, so that's maybe it's $11 per gallon. About $20,000 worth of coolant that goes inside there as well. Now, the B24 holds 24 L9s, okay? In these boxes here, Casey has already gone through and removed all the fans from them. I've gotten them all set up and prepped so that they can be plugged in and ready to play in the next B24. All right, so the next B24 is sitting outside, and you can count the boxes here, 6 per row. There are 4 rows if you want to open them up and double check for yourself. But it's really a B24 in there with handles on it, ready to deploy. Check it out. There are 24 rooms. So everything we need to fill the next tub is right here. So 24 there, 24 here. In addition to that, we've got another 6 and 5, that's 11 that are sitting over there. And I think there might be... No more over there. So I got 11 here, and I probably have a UPS tag on my front door, which is actually here showing that we missed yesterday's delivery with 5 of them. Okay, so where are we at on the map? 24, 48, plus 11, 59. 5 attempted delivery yesterday. Where are we at? 64. 64. Okay. 64. Remember, these run at 16,500 megahash. 16,500 times 64 is 1,056,000 megahash. Okay. Add in the 47,500, and we're at 1.1 million mega hash between the machines that are there, the ones that are ready to get installed, and the ones that are in that tub. Which means that you guys are the first. If you want to open up the boxes, help yourself. We have more today than we actually need. So I'm going to go one step further, and I'm going to show you what I do next. What I do next is I wait for the end of the week, and the end of the week has not officially come, but because all the sales are shut today, we're kind of at the end of the week. I take a look at the hash power this week, and I compare it to last week. Our sold hash power this week ended at 1071. All right, our sold hash power at the end of last week was at 1003. So 1071 minus 1003 is 68. So 68,000 mega hash was either sold or acquired through bonuses in the past week. Okay, I take 68,000 or 68 and I divide it by 16.5 because that's what the L9s run at. I need to purchase 4.12 new miners today to cover what we sold last week. Now you already did the math with me, and I think we already have more than we need. Let's stay ahead of the game, right? If this is what we sold last week, I unfortunately can't buy 4.12 machines, so I'll have to buy 5. I'm going to send a message out to our vendor, which we're using a company called Bitmars right now. Price for L9, please. They're going to send me a price in just the next couple minutes, and then what I'll do is I will pay them in full for those units, plus the shipping, plus the import duty, and I'll do it right here from my phone. I don't have to ask my bank. I don't have to go down to Chase and do a wire transfer. There's nobody that's going to review it and approve it, but it's going to give me a transaction hash, which is a definitive, programmatic, cryptographically secured indication that I've sent the payment for myself to our vendor. I do that every week at the end of the week. I see how much we've sold, I add it up, I get the current price from the machines, I place the order, and then we wait. It could take 2 days, or 4 days, or 5 days, or you might not be here when UPS comes to drop it off. But the first step of me following through on the promise is allocating the cash to the vendor that we need to pay for that equipment. That's number one. Getting it is number two. Today it's a little easier said than done, right? Not only do we have to battle these tariff things, but we got to be here when the doorbell comes in. News: U.S. exempts smartphones, computers from global Trump tariffs.
All right.
When's that?
2 hours ago.
2 hours ago. Thank God for small miracles. Step 3, of course, is plugging it all in, guys, right? I don't want to be dragged in handcuffs in front of the judge someday trying to explain that I did steps 1 and 2, but I never plugged them in. It's just as bad as not doing it at all, maybe, right? Tell it to the judge, they'll say. So my job is not just to put the money there like I did before, but it's to get the equipment, and then it's to take it all the way to the finish line, not just where it's plugged in, but where the website shows you where our hash power is now at or above. So we still have a little ways to go. We saw a big jump. We went from the 47.5 that we had all the way into the 400s. Great step forward, but we're not out of hot water yet, right? We got to get these things. We got to get them in the tub. We got to put them out somewhere where we've got sufficient power, plug it in, and get the numbers on the website to reflect our work, okay? The first way that we get to top crypto status is by building the mine and showing the world what we're doing, okay? If we don't build the mine, whether we bought it and paid for it and just didn't get it or couldn't plug it in, we're no better than anyone else. Our first ability to succeed and hit the top 100 goal is just simply based on following through on our promise. If I pay you the cash commission, you've got incentive to keep going out and filling the seats on the rocket ship. If I promote our coin, we get to cheer when we drive down the highway and we see the billboard, right? But if I don't build the mine, we don't have the network. We don't have the backbone. We don't have the infrastructure. We don't have the investment. We're talking about $100 million plus of equipment and cooling fluid and tubs and land and buildings and all this infrastructure that has to come together for us to follow through. It's not easy. I can tell why nobody else has done it successfully.
Yeah.
I know how difficult it is. I don't always want to do it myself,
No more touching stuff.
but I'm in this position here today, guys, because I know how to do these things. How many keyboard warriors are out there hiding in dark basements in some odd part of the world dreaming up the next meme coin? They don't know how to build this stuff. When I first came here, my wife picked out this land for us. My first question was whether or not I could put the power on the land we needed. Three-phase power. Not everybody has three-phase power. I'm the only guy in the neighborhood that has it. Cost $100,000 to put that power in back there, but I got it. And I looked there and I said, I'm going to put a building in. I built the building. We did ICF, insulated concrete forms. It's kind of like these big Lego blocks that you put down there, and then you pour concrete and steel in the middle. It's basically an indestructible safe. It's the building that I wanted to have because I was going to do precious metals manufacturing here. I built it. I dreamed it, and I did it. I'm a guy that knows how to do that stuff. And it was able to jumpstart this project to go from nothing, then an idea, to some physical stuff. Now to go to the next levels and beyond, we're going to need help. I can't do it all myself. What I really want to be doing is getting on a plane, some G6 right now, to blast off to a conference in Dubai, to get on the biggest stage in the world and tell them about Texit and show them what we've done. And now I get to come out of a little bit of hiding because the network's starting to demonstrate the investment that we've all made with our cash together. So this is really a big moment, guys. It's our first time to say, well, don't look at what's in that corner, it's small. You can take a picture of it if you want, but like, don't share it. Okay, that's only half a step better, right? But what you guys can now see is that we're making progress, and you can start to connect the dots in your mind between the activities that happen in our sales. We just closed out the week. We did better this week than last week. We did, I think, 417,000 this week, which is nowhere near our record of 597, but it was better than last week. And this is really the last week that I expect these numbers to be where they are. We haven't been pushing on the gas. We've had a lot of administrative things, a lot of banking things, and a lot of mining things to get caught up on that have distracted me for the last couple of weeks. They're done now. We're going crypto, the mine's here, the equipment's ready to plug in. I've got good people that are working on all that now. And now we're going to step on the gas. We're going to start the contests, we're going to start the promotions, we're going to start the excitement, we're going to get these pictures and this video out there for the world to see that we actually followed through. What are the odds that there actually is a real project in this space with good people that are committed, following through on the promises that they made to the people that they asked to help? That's what Texit is in a nutshell. I can't do it myself. I need the help of a lot of great people that saw the vision, that jumped in, participated in the journey, and brought us to where we are today. You guys know who you are. That's why you're here. And I really value that. I really am very deeply grateful and appreciative of the tools and the resources and the time and the effort that you've brought to the table to get us to where we are today. But, like I said, we're not resting. We've got more work to do. The mine had a big upgrade. We've got the next 24 and the tub ready to go in. Now, the last one, the last B24, just got changed from a B24 to a B48. And what that is it's a double stack, basically two B24 stacked on top of each other. So this one's actually going to get pulled out when that arrives, and we'll put the B48 in here. The reason for that is because I've actually got 800 amps of 480 volt power back there on the wall. So I've got plenty of power here to run 48 and then some. Got plenty of room outside to put the heat exchanger. If you want to walk through the mud to the back and see the bigger heat exchanger back there, you can. But we're going to go up front in a moment for some refreshments and a quick restroom break before we move on to the next phase. So we're not done, but we're far enough along where I finally feel comfortable inviting you in to take pictures and video and to share our result. Okay? We got good people working on the project now. I'm very happy with what we have. Now the next goal is to put this in, then our hash power doubles again. The B48 shows up and our hash power will double again as we fill up those tubs. So right now the race is on to get 96 L9s tuned up and ready to go. 24, 48, another 11, 5 more. We're supposed to show up with UPS. And as soon as we hear back from Bitmart, I'll show you. It's very early right now in China, so we might have to give them a couple hours to wake up and respond. But I'll show you exactly how that works. I'll show you how I place the order. I'll show you how I pay for it. And then I'll put that document and the receipt into our Beavis and Proof chat. Beavis is some software that I created back in 2017. You know, I manufacture these cold storage wallets and I laser etch code on them. It's a very sensitive piece of information. People would say, well, how do we know that you don't have a copy of the code? You don't. I can tell you I didn't keep it, I can like pinky swear, but I really can't prove to you that I didn't keep it. But here's what I can do. I can write down my name, I can write down the date, I can write down how many coins I made, I can write down who was in the room when I produced that, I can stamp it with my company seal and I can sign it with my signature, I can take a picture of that and I can publish it to the blockchain. What does that mean? Well, the blockchain is simply a distributed, permanent, decentralized ledger, a database, an accounting record. And so I developed a way to take a picture and crunch it into a blockchain. I use Texit blockchain right now to publish the picture of the production log. Why? So that there's a permanent and immutable, unchangeable record of the production. Does it prove that I did a good job? No. But is it at least more than anybody else is willing to give you? I think so. And so I developed that technology so that we can always go back, kind of like a digital notary, so to speak, and say, here's what we did, here's who was in the room when that thing was made. If we have a problem, which we've never had, that's where we start. Right? So I developed this concept, it's called Beavis, Blockchain-Enabled Verification and Information Service. The word Beavis in Scandinavia means proof. But we like to use the word Beavis here because
So no butthead?
That's where I thought he got it from.
But think about it, right? If you have a business or if you have a process or if you have some sort of place where you can use blockchain technology to increase the transparency or increase the the confidence, the trust, give your customers a window into the factory floor. It's a great technology. I don't know if anybody else in the world uses it. I do, and it works great. So again, it's very important that we're transparent. I'm going to share this information with you guys. You guys are going to share it with your communities. And together, we're going to hold each other accountable. And we're going to strive every day to do the right thing, to follow through on our promises. And together, you'll see that reaching the goal, hitting the goal, achieving the goal becomes automatic. Our success is a byproduct of the good things that we do every day. Well, when is it going to happen? Well, it's already happening now. It's already happening now because we're doing the right thing day in and day out, even when no one's looking. And so that's the cornerstone. That's one of the things. By the way, these are all boxes full of our brochures. So if you like the fancy brochure, you want to take some with you for the road, grab a box. If you need more trifold brochures, that's here. Help yourself. But let's get this information out there. Let's tell the world who we are. Let's tell the world what we're doing. Let's show them that we mean business. And together, we'll see that the success that we're expecting to come is already here today. All right? So thank you for coming out and visiting my little home. We're going to go up front.